this week, your readings will focus on how the sound and rhythm are used in poetic construction. Once again, there are some terms that you need to know. First, syntax is the way in which words are ordered to create clauses, phrases, and sentences. A stanza is a group of lines in a poem set off from the others, basically a poetic paragraph. The repetition of the final stressed vowel of the poetry is rhyme. Rhythm is the beat of a poem created by stressed and unstressed syllables. Foot is the smallest repeated unit of rhythmic pattern in a poem. Finally, meter is the pattern formed when lines of a poem follow a recurrent rhythm. So for example, when you read Shakespeare, he used iambic pentameter. An iamb is a foot that has a specific pattern of an unaccented and short syllable, followed by a long and accented syllable. Ba-bum, kind of like a heartbeat. Penta means 5, so pentameter is a 5-part meter. Put it all together and you get 5 ba-bums. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's leaf hath all too short a date. Ba-bum, 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 ba-bum. Most older traditional literature has a set rhythm, meter, and theme that is followed. This is determined by the type of poem that is being written. For example, a sonnet, like the one I just read, is a lyrical poem made up of 14 lines that deals with 2 contrasting topics. The Shakespearean or English sonnet is made up of 3 rhyming quatrains, sets of 4 lines, and a couplet, a set of 2 lines. The Petrarchan or Italian sonnet is made of a rhyming octave, set of 8 lines, and a sestet, set of 6 lines. An ode is a long, usually serious poem, often in the form of an address. In ancient Greece, where the form was popularized, this dramatic poem consisted of 3 major parts and was sung by the chorus between episodes in a play. An elegy is a poem with death as the major theme. And then there's free verse, which really became popular in the modernist period. Remember, those were the writers who liked to break the rules. This is a poem written without a consistent structure, rhythm, or rhyme scheme. Authors can play with the meaning of the poem by breaking the rules of how poems should look and sound. Look at E.E. Cummings' poem on page 563. The poem has a line inside of a word, and the word is written vertically rather than horizontally. How is the meaning changed by making you read in a different way? Why might Cummings want to write it this way? Compare that to Easter Wings on page 565. This is what we call a concrete poem. The poem itself looks like the thing it is describing. Does this add to your understanding of the message? The form and structure of a poem can reinforce their meaning or disrupt it, and the structure is a powerful way for poets to communicate with their readers. Another way that authors might play with the meaning in their text is by using words that evoke different meanings depending on their use. When we talk about the meanings of words, we often go to the dictionary, but those definitions are limited. There are actually 2 ways to look at the meaning of the words. Their connotations and their denotations. Denotation is that unambiguous dictionary definitions of word. Connotation is the emotional weight or social baggage a word brings that colors the way we use or understand it. For example, even though they have the same denotation, dictionary meaning, the connotation of a cottage in the forest is different than a cabin in the woods. Butt dial is very different than booty call. All of these elements give poetry great potential for expression, but they can also make them difficult for a reader to sort through. So if you find it challenging, don't give up. Your discussion board this week will give you a chance to explore poetry in a different way, one that disregards the author's intent entirely. This is a form of literary criticism, or method of interpretation, that is called reader response criticism. The theory here is that poems don't have meaning until they are read, so you, not the author, are responsible for making the meaning of the text by interpreting through your own experience and perspective. There are truly no wrong answers here. Just think about what the poem means or says in the context of your own life or the world that you live in. Your second writing project is posted, and just like the first, you have 3 weeks to work on it. During the second week, you need to send a draft to the tutoring center, so don't leave that until the last minute. You have the same 3 options as last time, but whichever one you chose for project 1, you cannot repeat. So pick from the 2 you have left. Whichever one you don't do for poetry, you'll have to do when we start reading plays in the final unit, drama. As always, ask for help if you need it. Happy reading and writing this week.